G'day, Aussie Bonsai Bloke. Here you go. Today guys, we're going to be working on this Chinese elm, grown from a whip that I bought at Mitre 10. Exactly the same age as that little one that we just worked on in the last video. I think it was the last video. Exactly the same age, except this one got put in the ground, the other one's only ever been in a pot, so that's the difference. So yeah, that grew that big trunk, then I chopped it back, then it grew some more branches, then I chopped them back, grew some more branches, and then when I collected it out of the ground, it had all the energy in the trunk, cut it back to not too many roots, and then all these branches have been grown on since. Pretty well most of them, apart from probably a couple of the main ones, possibly were done in the ground or kept after it was done in the ground. But anyway, let's work on it. So, we've already got our first day of spring here. I haven't checked the actual observations, but I'm going to say it's 21 or 22 degrees outside. Technically still late winter, but feels like spring. Trees are starting to move. Already seen a couple of lizards in the last couple of days, so spring is here. Hard to believe when we were just going into winter not that long ago, but that's the Australian winter, super short. Alright, what are we going to do with this tree? Well, we got, as you can see, we got these sacrifice branches. Well, not sacrifice branches, branches that were put on to fatten up in some areas where I thought it was lacking branches. So one got put on at the back. You can see how fat that back branch is now. Earlier, when I first grew this branch out, it would have been no fatter than this little guy here. But to let it grow for another year, untrimmed, and just let it go wild, really did fatten that up nicely. So you can see that. So we're going to cut it off now. That's thick enough, I don't need it to get any thicker than that. What I will do, oh by the way too, if you want to, you can take cuttings from the Chinese elm. They will grow almost 100% success rate if you know, was to then chuck that in a pot, you get close to 100% success rate. So I might actually do that because I'm actually a little bit low on Chinese elm. I've only got 3. So I might actually keep a couple for myself, some cuttings, and chuck them in a pot and let them take root. So I will keep them and make some new ones. Maybe even just plant some in the garden, and then when they get big enough in the garden, I'll dig them out, turn them into bonsai. Bloody beauty. Okay, so I don't want that branch that long. I was just giving it a chop back just to see whether or not it's going to split, and it didn't split, so if it's going to split, then you've got to be super careful and maybe take a couple of goes at it, because you don't want it to split, you know, back into the branch there. This one here I'll cut back short, keep the cuttings. So you can see now we've got this really powerful one at the back here, which can grow at the back. Don't need this little guy over here. It's a little bit close to this branch, but they'll sort themselves out. We'll sort it out later. I could possibly end up chopping this branch off or even shortening it back to there, but we'll see. For now I'm going to leave that this year and then decide next year. I don't need to you know, cut it all off at once. But that will be a back branch there. Actually I will actually cut it off right now. So this branch here will now have plenty of room to grow into here, and because it's got all that energy that's been flowing to that area for so long, and now it's full of energy, this should bud out and shoot stronger than any other point on the tree. I'll bring you in for a close-up of the other one. So this one here is going to be cut as well. Hope you guys can see that. So, same thing. Going to cut it back, leave a short stub there. Have two goes at this one, it's quite fat. And there goes the limb. Now I'll do the same to this one. I'll let this one grow up and in to the other branching a little bit. Maybe even go up here or down here. I like to leave, so that's that done. Leave all major cuts for when you're going to have sap flow. So it's just starting to shoot now. I'll cut off a branch I don't need. Okay, so here we got two competing branches here. 3 or 4 even. You can see here. This one here died back by the looks. Or I might have stripped the bark off. But here you can see we've got some fairly substantial branches all competing in the same spot. These two here, hard to get in there. These two here, this one and this one, almost mimic each other. So what's happened is last year I reckon I've got too lazy and not come back in spring last year and cleaned up branches that I didn't need, because it looks like they were both allowed to grow last year. Because in summer I pretty well just hedge around, give it a rough hedging, because you know, the legend Walter Paul says so, and you don't argue with a legend like that. And also, it's very hard to see into a Chinese elm during summer when you've got that growth on, to go and shoot select back to 2 shoots per any one location, because there is so many leaves, and could you imagine defoliating it? It's something I don't want to do, and hedging allows it to get lots of energy, lots of shoots, and then we come back in now when we can see it all and we work on it. So there's another possible cutting. I don't need too many cuttings there, that's ridiculous. And I'll keep this little guy coming down here. Just chop it back a bit. You can see we've slowed down the congestion here now. Only got the 2 branches. This one here is growing right up into the top, up into here. And this is a really nice structured branch, so I don't want to play around with that one. But this one here is quite ugly, so let's go and cut that back, so that doesn't compete with the top bit now. That's gone. And I'll probably go through and just make some of these more structural choices now, and then we'll get the small scissors out after. All in all, it doesn't look too bad. There's not too many big things that I have to change. Another one here, some weird knob that has to be cut off. So that's gone. Dead bit in there. So I'll do all the bits that, you know, need a bigger tool to cut with now. And alright, and here you can see this section here I think was allowed to grow. I can see where I did cut it about a year ago. But this section in here was allowed to grow to fill in this big gap here. And then it looks like it was just trimmed during summer. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to trim it back harder inside the tree. So we get a bit more division because there's two really straight branches and the rest of the tree's actually got pretty good branch division and ramification. So I want the whole tree to look like that, with a lot of branch division and you know, changes in direction. So it's a good idea to get in there now and do it. And because we've cut them back harder than everything else and it's stronger growth, it should shoot out first and really get a spurt on, and it should get to the, you know, back out to the outside of the tree, no worries. If you were to do that in the middle of summer, you'd probably find these shoots probably die off because they'll just get shaded out, but doing it early like this is probably okay. Hello, Leo. Leo the dog is trying to eat the stick. You can have one, Leo. Come here. Up. Up. You can have one. There you go, Bubba. You can have one because I don't need that many. Don't eat it. Good boy. Good boy. Whoops. Yeah, I'll put it over there for you on the carpet. Go for it, bud. Go get it. Good boy. Alright, so let's keep going with the structure. The rest of the structure, I'm telling you, is not too bad, you know. There's a bit here and a bit there that can be cut off, but it's not too bad. There's some fine stuff that I'll have to deal with. Alright, let's just spin it around. So here's a bit congested. Let's get rid of one of them. Get rid of this one here that's going over across all the other branches there. Get rid of this one here that's crossing across this one. I want to clean it up, but I don't want to, you know, I want to clean it up, make the lines a bit cleaner, but I don't want to take away, you know, the character of branches that do go a little bit everywhere. I do want to keep some of that in the tree, so I'm not going to overly clean it up. That's not my style. I don't want the whole lot to be just flowing out perfectly. I do like a few crossing and competing branches because that is realistic of what does happen in nature, and you know, if something's competing too much, eventually nature will take its course, and that branch that is getting shaded out too much will end up naturally dying in the tree anyway. Okay, here you can see we've got a massive clump branches. Something's going to have to be done here. I think something drastic. So let's get in here and completely cut this bit off. You can see it's just a bird's nest of crap from poor trimming last year. Whoops. So what I could do with that one is make a cutting out of that one, and you could get some weird little tree. We'll see what happens. See what happens, and you never know, might get some weird little tree. I was going to show you also the buds. You can see the buds there opening up. Okay, so that's a fairly big decision on that part. And that's exposed a really straight one I've got back here. Remember, now's the time to get in there and chop things back hard if you need to. Because you definitely won't be able to do it later. So let's look for some more weird things like that. So over here, you can see we've got this big knob here with 5 branches coming from it. Let's get rid of that one too, chop it back. And then we're left with some finer growth, because you don't want the coarse growth right on the outside of the tree. You want to be able to cut that back. So up here, there's another area with some really coarse growth on the outside of the tree. So let's get rid of that. Hey, what are you doing? He took off with me cutting. Cheeky boy. You can have that one. Here you go. So cute. Bit of a menace, but you're very cute. Alright, so just look for some more coarse stuff that we need to get rid of. Got a leaf in my coffee. Got me black coffee because I'm on my OMAD again because I'm getting a bit chubby again. Take off another little knob up there. You can see this really coarse bit right here. Okay, the fine ramification is not going to take long to get back, you know, it's only going to take a matter of a few months to get back. Doesn't take long at all. Okay, so here's a bit of coarse growth out on the tip here. Get rid of that one. So if you look for some really coarse stuff on the outside first, maybe, that would be a good way of attacking it. Another one here. One there I don't mind. It's a little bit coarse, but it's alright. Just get rid of a stub in there. Okay. Have we got rid of all the major cuts? Pretty close. Pretty close to doing all the major cuts. So we've got our two big branches down here done. We've got that cleaned up there. Got most of the coarse growth on the outside cleaned up. I might chop that one back to get, you know, more shape in the branches. They were probably left too straight, to be honest. A few like that around the place. So let's cut off anything that's too straight, or at least chop it back so that it can then, you know, change direction. And we are getting to the finer part of trimming now, so won't be long and I'll have to chuck it on a hyperlapse because here we got 4 again, so missed that before. Let's do something here. Probably be happy to keep the top one and maybe get rid of these 2. No, because then you got a T in the road. You don't want a T in the road. Might have to chop it all off, we'll see. Possibly keep that like that. It's kind of competing with this branch. They look exactly the same next to each other. Now, I think what I'll do is I'll just chop that other one off, so it cleans that up a little bit. Okay, so then you've got to come in here and just anything on the inside of crotches, anything dead, got to be trimmed off. You want to try and keep it to 2 shoots per any one location. Chop everything else off. Choose the directions of where you want the branches to go. For me, choosing the direction is as simple as where I've got too big an area without a shoot, and I want to have, you know, I want to fill it in a bit. Too big a bulb spot. That's the direction I choose to keep shoots on. Now I got some pretty ordinary scissors here. I've really got to go and buy some new ones. They're shocking. The bolt jams on the scissors and it makes it so hard to open and shut. Must have bent it somehow, cutting something too big. So my own fault, but we do have to get some new ones. And we're just going to go through and clean up all of these like this. Okay, so that's that part of the branch cleaned up. can see here I was talking about how if you do keep two competing branches growing, they end up shading each other out. Well, one ends up dying anyway naturally. This one here is dead. Tiny bit of green on that side shoot, but this part of it died because it got too much shade. So that's what I mean. They will naturally start to sort themselves out as well. I don't mind having some downward facing ones as well. I don't have a problem with that. Yeah, I'm just going in and just cleaning them up, shortening them a bit, getting rid of just the ugly looking branches that are just shooting in very strange positions. Something that you don't normally see, or in the inside of a bend. I cut them off as well. Super straight ones can be cut back. If there's 3 in one spot, I'll cut something back. Yeah, a lot of the ones where it gets too congested, one of them ends up dying anyway, so it sort of does sort itself out in a way, but it's when you let 3 or 4 from the one spot grow right out long that you really get into trouble with your structure. And some of this stuff in here might have even died, you know, the year before, because I don't think I went in here last year and cleaned up like this. Another big dead one in here. Chop that one off. And died right back. So you can see how I'm doing it. I'm just going in 2 from any one location, trying to clean it up a bit. If I have 2 competing branches too close to each other, one of them has to go. Whoa. What has to go is that turntable from Adrian Eggleton. Works too well, and the tree keeps spinning on me while I'm trying to work on it. Bit of a pain. So yeah, that's that section done. This section here is not far off. Just get rid of dead stuff. Anywhere where there's 2 shoots, and just trim it back. If it's too straight, cut it off also. And this section here must have grown really late in the season because it never lost its leaf at all. And Chinese elm, if you have a fairly mild climate, or in some places where it's even milder than me, you can actually end up, the thing never goes deciduous. In fact, the other one on the outside, which I might work on next, or I might just skip that one because you guys have seen 2 elms in a row. That one didn't lose its leaves. It's reshooting and kept all its leaves because we only had 1 hard frost here this year so far, and that's all we had. Okay, so that's getting close to this side of the tree being trimmed. Some of the branches going back in on the tree itself, I'm chopping off also. Just cleaning it up. Okay, so that's got, you know, well, apart from the odd little one here, but not too bad. And if you do miss the odd one, it's not the end of the world. Don't stress too much. But that has got that area there cleaned up. You can see it looks a bit different to that side with all the twigginess. The side here is a lot more cleaned up, and I'm going to just do that through the whole thing and then see you guys when it's done. Cheers, and I'll catch you in a minute. No worries guys, all done, trimmed up. Got me cuttings here. I'll just demonstrate cutting a few, but you just cut them to a length. There'd be more here than I'd ever be willing to plant. I could literally get probably 200 out of here if I really wanted to go silly. But you literally just cut a few like that. Stab them in some soil. I'm just going to use normal potting mix. Could use cactus, probably the cactus mix. And that's it. You'll grow some new ones. Then I'll put them in the ground. Once they shoot, I'll put them in the ground, let them grow for 3 or 4 years, and hopefully end up with something like this guy right here. So anyway, I won't bore you with cutting all them. You get the idea. Make sure you stab them in the dirt the right way. In the bines, what we normally do, if you want to know which way to do it, you go flat cut on the bottom, angle cut at the top, and then you know the angle cut is the top, so you don't get confused and then accidentally plant them upside down, because believe you me, it can and does happen quite often. So happens all the time, even in the nursery. Okay. Any announcements? Oh, if you guys want to do an intro version of the intro for me, go for it. And I'll be happy to feature at the start of the video doing an intro. Apart from that, you can join No Rules Bonsai on Facebook if you want to. I'm on Instagram as well. But anyway, it was a fun, night in the shed, afternoon night in the shed, nice and warm, 20 odd degrees, and just beautiful to be out here trimming this. This is absolutely one of my favourite in my collection, mainly because I've grown it right from everything, including the trunk and the stump. I've done the whole kit and caboodle. No worries. Cheers for watching Aussie Bonsai Bloke. Please like, share, subscribe. Tell your mates about the channel. And until next time, I'll catch you later. I'll just show you the flowers on the plum on the way out too. And let's just give you a really quick spin of this tree right now. Really quick spin of this tree. And I'll show you photos of the plum in flower. It's got its first flower ever after 8 years. But anyway, the main thing we're here for is this Chinese elm. She's just done everything right, this girl. Just grown everything in the right spot. And just been super, super good to me. About 11 years from a cutting like that. So 11 years in the ground, and then out the ground, you can probably expect something like that from that in 11 years. Sounds like a long time, but it's not really a long time. You'd be surprised how quick time goes. So no worries. Cheers guys. Thanks very much. Devil's Plum flower. First time this tree's ever flowered, and you can see a couple more buds. 8 years from a seed, I suppose, and it's finally flowering. Pretty cool.